like what is happening in 2018. This idea came because there is no CP, but unstructured CP we get whenever you learn, whenever you read article or you are attending any webinar. The institute gives you unstructured hours of learning. So at the end of the day, we are sitting here to learn, share the knowledge, and more importantly, why chai pe charcha was the idea floated was that we will have a Q&A session kind of thing, so that will make people also know more about the questions they generally have in their mind, so that gets sorted out. So this was the idea behind having today's study group of acquaintances and fellowship. So fellowship is also mean that you are free to share your ideas, dreams, or take help. So these group can help each other. We can support each other and learn together. That was the basic idea. And the very first today's topic, what went in our mind was that today artificial intelligence is taking over. So artificial intelligence, how one can think none other than NIDHISH, who is into fintech. So what is fintech? I was just trying to wonder out what is fintech. It refers to the integration of technology into offerings of financial services. This integration enables faster and simpler way of managing needs of various sets of people, and it empowers businesses with reduced cost and achieve the scale. So this is what the backdrop, how technology will really help businessmen and to a chartered accountant to foster and to prosper. And technology has revolutionized all facets of financial services. And obviously no one is untouched. As I say, each one, even now, wherever you go, grocery shop also, Amazon is working for us, right? So anything you want to buy, the e-commerce has in thing. So blockchain is coming, digitization is coming, and so much so there was a need. And then I thought, okay, this will be the right person. And to ask him a certain questions, moot questions, which will answer on the way forward in our like this meeting. So I thought, okay, why not take up Krutika, who is a director with a leading fintech company. So that is a good combination. Both of you can gel together. She is based in Mumbai. She has diverse experience in areas of handling services of mutual fund, hedge funds, and private equity funds. So Krutika has been involved in implementing tech initiative, AI, and various other projects. So apart from her professional engagement, Krutika is active member of CSR projects, and she's a avid interest in literature, and she's a very good dear friend of mine. And after introducing Krutika, today is our moderator, I will request our another colleague and member of SGAF, Hiral Mehta, chartered accountant, who is also into practice for last 8 years, and she is also catering to the corporate services. So this was the background. So I thought, okay, let me invite Hiral to introduce formally our today's speaker, star speaker, Nidhish.
Thank you, Vandana, for giving me this opportunity. It's a pleasure to introduce our own dearest speaker, who is Nidhish Singh. He has been qualified from the four institute, akka, CC, IOD, and he is a mentor and judge in National Entrepreneur Network. He is also founder of FINTECH Institute and Text for Health. He is into training into various institutions. He is into training into various fintech solutions and everything. Nidhish completed his degree from UK University, Liverpool, John Moores. And he is also, taking various senior leadership positions into director and vice president into investment banking and financial services companies. He has been, trained from JB Morgan, State Street, Citibank, SSC Global Operate in India, Ireland, and UK. He is the PhD researcher in the area of private equity and Indian economics. He also holds over the dozen of certificates for subject covering technology, finance, business strategy, and management. Nidhish also has the work experience from end-to-end accounting, valuation, reconciliation, financial reporting, and over over 40 billion US dollars he has managed the asset and management companies. expertise in audit, IFRS, and whatnot. There is a list of different things which has been qualified him, and it's a pleasure to consider this session. So can you? I'll request to start the session.
Okay, thank you, Vandana. Thank you, Hiral. And good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for being here on this platform. Okay, so without much further ado, I just straight away go to Nidhish and we start with our questions. And I think Nidhish is all set to answer our queries and enlighten us on this hot topic. Okay, Nidhish, welcome once again. So we have been hearing about AI, blockchain, machine learning, digitization, so on and so forth. So can you just tell us like what is the current scale, what is the market scenario and where it stands as at this point?
Thank you, Kritika, Vandana, Hiral, and Bharat, everyone for organizing such an interesting and enlightening discussion. And it is good for everyone to share our understanding and knowledge on this platform. So when it comes to the fintech, it has been in news frequently, and almost every company and every country is talking about this, and they are dreaming of being the leader in this area. The question is that why it is so important. So just to give you some glimpse of the scale, today as we are talking, every day 3 billion transactions are taking place on fintech platforms. So I'll just repeat, 3 billion transactions are taking place every day on fintech platforms. Investment in the fintech companies are to the tune of $35 to $40 billion as of now. The value of the fintech investments have gone up to $50 billion overall. So with this much of investment, what is the adoption rate? So for the corporates and the companies, the adoption rate is 56% at the moment, but for individual consumers, it is 75%, which means every 3 out of 4 of us are somewhere making the fintech transactions regularly, and we are completely relying on this. So the fever has already gripped the entire world, and it is just growing faster. World Economic Forum has said by 2025, 25% of the world GDP, i.e. every $1 out of $4 will come from AI, fintech, and these emerging new technologies. So that is the scale of fintech, and that's why it is so important.
Impressive. I think the numbers which you quoted are very, very impressive, and I'm sure it's going to force each one of us to think the way the world is changing. So, Nidhish, what is going to be future, like fast forward 5 years, how it's going to impact accounting, audit, banking, and all realms of financial services, like what is going to change? Do you see any drastic change happening, and how it's going to span out?
Yeah, the change will be quite revolutionary rather than evolutionary in next 4 or 5 years. If we look at 2025 as a major milestone, most of the audit works, like especially the fact finding, the confirmation, the validation, that will be assisted or done by the AI or fintech softwares. For example, EY Australia has already adopted the digital auditing technology, which means almost 50% of the bank audit confirmation now is lodged using the AI or fintech enabled systems. Because traditionally, and it is good for accountant, the CA practitioners, because even the fresh CA practitioner would not like to go through raft of the documents and the invoices or the audit documents to confirm and validate the data. Now those things can be done by the software. Even certain analytics, some other pattern discovery can be done by fintech and AI tools, and that kind of thing we are expecting at a bigger scale in future. That is for audit. Next, when it comes to insurance or financial services, the cash payment, the global transactions, as I said earlier, they are taking place on fintech platforms. Of course, not to deviate much in the crypto, but we have seen recently how much crypto investment has been done only from India. Almost 200, 2 crore people have invested already into cryptocurrency to the tune of 3,000 crore rupees. So these are some of these sample data as to how the fintech is penetrating our day-to-day life, banking, financial services, businesses, etc. IBM Watson, and this is another very related area to our profession. IBM Watson have been able to analyze 360,000 legal contracts in just over 11 minutes, much faster than a group of 200 talented corporate lawyers. When a new tax rules and regulation comes, we can feed those details into a fintech tool enabled by deep learning or natural language processing. So natural language processing enables any machine to go through maybe thousands of pages of the legal documents or the new law and regulations, extract the key information, and then it can apply into real life situation. So we don't have to kind of spend hours and hours discussing and debating every single clause, or we don't have to spend time going through each and every document of the clients in order to calculate certain returns. A lot of work can be done in a very automated fashion and in much more accurate way using these fintech tools. So the question is that, okay, then are we going to lose our roles in the jobs? No, because anything which is repetitive or monotonous basically can be done by those fintech tools or AI enabled applications. Our role will be to manage the client expectation, relationship, escalations, the quality and the checks, compliance, and overall accuracy of the data and the report or discretionary items rather than those very basic information. And this is where these tools are going to help chartered accountants, tax practitioners, or even business lawyers. So,
right, absolutely.
Right. And now 9 billion investment has been made by big four firms itself. So that gives you some idea that how much excited all the big companies are in this practice.
Yeah, I think the world is embracing AI much faster than we have expected. And there are advantages. I mean, as you said, that the system, I mean, the AI and technology is going to be more efficient, faster, error-proof. And as you said that, you know, it will be more value addition of a role for any professional rather than, you know, being just doing the repetitive tasks day in, day out. So great. I think there is definitely bright future ahead.
Yeah, audit functions have already been started with that fintech solution tools and everything. Power BI is already there, Power Query and everything is already been started now from past 1 year or something.
Right. Great. So Nidhish, as we speak about this, like what are the challenges or hurdles you see coming this way, right? I mean, everyone in their mind, they want to embrace technology, but I mean, to certain extent, the, you know, adoption is little bit slow. So what do you think? What could be the major hurdles which are coming this way?
The major hurdles are all people specific now, right now. For example, the big organizations or even corporates which have been dealing with the clients in the past, they are not ready for fintech adoption just yet, because before we adopt fintech or AI, we need to have a right data environment. Like data have to be consistently recorded all in one place. It should not be scattered. Everyone agrees that there is a specific way to record all the data, right? Those kind of best practices and the right data environment needs to be created before we adopt and benefit optimally from fintech. Because as you know, fintech and AI is about the data. It heavily depends on the information. And if that is not accurate and properly recorded, the application, the technology cannot do much. That's one limitation. Secondly, is also a lot of cultural and psychological factors. People often think that fintech and the advanced tools will cause jobs losses or insecurity. So many people are not convinced to work into this or cooperate in such projects. Thirdly, there is a lack of awareness amongst the senior executives and the senior leaders in different organizations, because often people think that AI and fintech are a very, very advanced technology and they are not aware of how to use this, or they can't even upgrade themselves, which is causing resistance at the senior level as well. Another barrier is the notion of black box, because often we don't know what is going on inside an algorithm of a fintech. So many times senior bank executives and even the audit companies are reluctant to use this optimally, because we don't know how the algorithm is working behind the scene. So it's kind of black box syndrome. So that is another barrier. And finally, there is not sufficient training and awareness amongst people to train for fintech, AI, different sub-AI tools, data analytics, blockchain, and that is causing latency as well.
Okay. All right. So my next question is, right, we as professionals or any professional who thinks about making a career in fintech, or maybe advance the career in that field, how they should go about it, what are the avenues, what are the different ways in which they can learn and then going forward make a career in this?
So depending on where we are in our career ladder, one can adopt to go into fintech. So that means those who are at the very senior level, they can understand the overall fintech framework, like how to use the fintech tools, what are the different case study. Those are things that can be learned easily. Even at the junior level, people can equip themselves with the basic terminologies and the projects, the framework, what are the use cases, and they can learn some of the jargon and terminology of the fintech world. I would like to clarify that in order to lead or work in a fintech project, or even to come up with an idea for execution, you don't have to know the details of the coding, or you don't have to be a coder. When I worked in such techno-functional roles, and I was proposing certain models how we can improvise the system, I don't have to know how the Java, .NET, or any such program, but I can still devise a very good plan and the math. I can cut down the steps and make things faster and smarter. Those models can be implemented with the help of the technocrats or the programmers. But in order to lead a fintech project or to come up with a fintech idea, you don't have to know the codes. That can be taken care of by the programmer, but you can still come up with the right idea based on your business and financial knowledge. So just know the different models, how think creatively, how system can work better, reduce the number of steps in making a transaction. That is the biggest benefit and also strength of a fintech tool. They reduce the number of steps. They try to make the process much smarter, right? And this is where our business knowledge as an accountant can help the organizations at a big scale.
Absolutely. I think ultimate goal for using AI or machine learning is to reduce the process to the simplest form.
Right.
And which will actually lead to more clarity and understanding, rather than being fearful of, like, I don't know what's going on in the background. So that is rightly said. So Nidhish, I also know that you are developing your own blockchain. Can you just kind of elaborate a little bit on this, like what you are doing and how it's going to help and what is the use of it?
Yeah. So thanks for this question too, Kritika. Wanted to talk about blockchain. So let's understand some of the basics. Why the blockchain is important? We are saying that it is safe, secure, but aren't we safe anyway? 250 years of the banking and the related technology, does that mean that it was not safe so far? So answer is yes, it was, but now blockchain is at a different level of safety. So blockchain is, as the name suggests, it's a chain of various blocks. So there will be a block in the center, and that needs to be confirmed by the blocks in the vicinity and the surrounding blocks. So this is how the blocks are confirmed with each other. If I want to penetrate and intervene and change the data in one block, I have to change the data for 5-6 other blocks. And this is why blockchain is kind of a foolproof and very safe and secure. Because if I want to change one block, I have to change another 6 blocks, and then I have to change 36 other blocks, and it will keep growing. And that's why it cannot be hacked, and it is hacking proof. So there are hashing, nonce, and various other technical jargons we'll talk about sometime later. But blockchain brings more safety, security. It makes things more transparent because it is a distributed ledger. Like we, 10, 20, 30 people, 40 people, can create one blockchain for our own community, and each person will be able to confirm the block of another person created. And that block may be for a transaction, maybe for a certificate, or maybe for a movie, right? It could be used in tens of different ways, but it is we as a community who manage the blockchain platform. That's why it is much more transparent. It is much more fast as well and safe. It also reduces the dependence on the traditional way of payment and communication through the traditional banking system. That's why it becomes cheaper to transact with our business partners across the world. And it reduces the banking cost and even the foreign exchange cost drastically. And it is becoming a banking technology of the future. So that is blockchain benefits and the fundamentals of the blockchain. I'm developing, after some self-taught training, is the prototype blockchain with using Anaconda, Flask, this kind of software. This can be downloaded from internet, and you can step by step learn the code and how the cryptography is done. So these courses are widely available, almost freely available on internet. You can practice gradually on your own pace, start to learn. And the benefit is that as a chartered accountant, if you learn these basics of the blockchain or even at a much lesser scale, you will be able to interact much efficiently with the technologist. You'll be able to devise the process. You can think through the efficient design using blockchain, such as custody, sec lending, or the payment, or even in the audit process. Blockchain is immensely useful. So having the basic understanding of this tool technology will be really beneficial for professionals like us.
Great. I think now all of us have some future plans on learning and implementing these in our professional lives. One more question, Nidhish, I have is, I think nowadays almost most of the people, I mean, they are now into, securities market, and trading and all is happening on a much more larger scale. Do you think that it's going to change the way the trades are executed, or there will be more sophisticated mechanism to find prices and trades? It will become much more smoother process?
Yeah, the trading will become much more efficient and faster. And one of the examples I quote is, I talked about the natural language processing earlier, which is a technology to read news or even the regulation or the text. Maybe what we are talking about, if you convert that in the text, the NLP software can even understand that one. So coming back to the point, basically, we can give the link of 200 different news to a software. It will scan through within seconds and will be able to decide whether this private limited whether this public company, like whether Ambani, Reliance, or Tata, or this are going to go up tomorrow or down. With that information, it can instantly make buy or sell decisions. Or it can also decide put or call, long, short, everything at a much faster pace. What is the further benefit of such thing is, it will be much more efficient to think using fintech whether my capital is invested properly or not. Even my inventory is managed efficiently or not. My supply chain management, is that effective? Is that efficient? Is that serving customer needs? All these analytics can be performed using fintech and the data analysis. So other example I gave to people that if I know that GDP, so far what we know is the GDP is based on, say, stock market or interest, inflation, etc. But one day, if we give a couple of trillion bytes of data to a software, it can also find out that, okay, you know what, GDP growth rate depends on the amount of vitamin C people take. I'm not saying that this is the fact, but it could come up with certain new pattern that we are not aware of as a human, because we can't analyze so much of data. This is where the power of fintech comes, when it will be able to find out new patterns, new kind of data, and we will be able to bet on that, or we'll be able to use the take the business decisions. And this is where we'll be able to magnify the growth of business. Some analysts and the World Bank researchers have said that in 10 years time, fintech can help make the GDP 10 times bigger than it is now. It could become $750 trillion in 10 years time if we use fintech appropriately, because it will unlock a lot of value.
Okay, great. So it seems to me that data is now new oil, right? As we say, there is so much data out there to be used and processed, and much more meaningful, life impacting patterns can emerge. So data, how we use data is going to be the most advantageous use of fintech. I mean, that's what I will put in as.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I have a last question, Nidhish. So do you think fintech will replace banks? Because as you said, everything is become technology driven. So what is your view on that?
The banks, banks are absolutely challenged, and even it is not wrong to say threatened sometimes by fintech, but they are not going to be replaced by fintech companies. And I have a couple of reasons to believe in that. First, the banks are highly regulated. They are complied. They comply almost dozens to hundreds of different laws and regulations, whereas fintechs don't. Because of that, banks will have more credibility with their cash and the payment methodology as compared to a fintech company. We have seen the cases with WazirX and many so on and forth continuously, Binance, etc. And that is a prime example why fintech cannot become a bank. By the time fintech start to comply with all the rules and regulations, it will become a bank anyway. And thirdly, bank's role is to also custody a lot of cash and the dollar or the rupees, etc., which fintech cannot do because they don't have the license for that. And they can just do debit and credit, but they cannot store the money. And this is where banks have an edge, because bank, when they store money, they pay less interest, but they earn much more. And this is where they make money and they grow faster. However, it is definitely a topic which requires a lot of different opinion and thought processes. So before I say anything more, I would like to invite thoughts from our esteemed audience. You all have very rich experience in the financial and banking sector and the business. Definitely, we all will benefit from your thought. What you think, will fintech replace banks? I want to hear from you as well, everyone.
Nidhish,
yeah,
I have a question.
Sure.
My question is, as a layman, if one would say, Lord, you mentioned about the black box.
Right.
Okay. Now we have so much of reliance on the process happening behind a transaction. As a layman, we would rely on a statement from a bank. For example, I have a bank account and I get a statement. I have FDs and I have got an overdraft also. Both things. Okay. Now, my question is, I don't know how much they're charging and the methodology of charging overdraft interest vis-a-vis bank interest.
Right.
So how does one check or just rely blindly on the bank as a trustworthy partner, or use Excel worksheet and type and say, okay, my interest is so much or whatever? How does one, rely on this? This is one of example of a transaction. Okay.
Yeah.
So what will happen in future?
So, okay. So with reference to black box syndrome and this example, this is two likely different situations. So when I don't know how my interest is calculated or how much the FD is going to cost me, I can either calculate in Excel, or if I'm still confused, I can query again to some of the robo advisor in my bank or to a customer care agent. They can find out the breakdown of the behind the calculations. These things are still available, and it will likely continue to be available in the future, because whenever a fintech or any application is going to calculate your interest cost or anything, they have the algorithm and they will give the breakdown. They will be able to give the calculations. The black box syndrome I mentioned about, it relates to a much more deeper problem, which means if a particular trade was done, a long trade was done for a particular, say, Tata group of companies, and instantly software believed that it is likely to go up in the future and went long, that is where it might not be able to give all the required explanation to me and to my satisfaction. It will just trigger yes, no, buy, sell, long, short. And in those cases, it might not be able to give the detailed report to even the investment manager. That's where they have to rely upon this. When it comes to the customer facing situation, the banks have to, by rule of RBI and various other regulators, they have to have the full disclosures and calculation. If required, they need to provide this. But when it comes to the investment manager, those who are doing the daily trading, or if I'm making my own software on daily basis, it is unlikely that my software or any fintech will be able to provide that much details, because it is not really suitable for that service. So there is a kind of a cost benefit. There is a kind of a very thin line where it can provide us the backup and the calculation, and in some cases it might not. And that's some cases, which is the black box, that is scarce senior executives. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Nidhish.
Okay, I think we can open the floor for questions. Please, participants, I would encourage everyone. Nidhish is right here across. Please ask your questions, and he will definitely try and answer everything he can.
They can unmute themselves and ask the question.
I have a question related to the category of the companies or corporates.
Excuse me, who is asking? Sorry, can't see you first of all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sir. I wanted to ask how to select a fintech, software for different types of, categories of the companies which is available. So, like, see, some solutions, some tool is, applicable for the 1 second. Some tool is applicable to the smaller entities, and some tools are applicable to the larger entities. So how to select on that part?
अभी जो आप बोल रहे थे ना, देख इधर जाके आप यहाँ पे.
So the fintech tools, they can work with a different set of data. So I believe your question is that if I make a fintech payment tool which will process the transaction between India to US,
yes,
it will have the same algorithm, whether it is you are an individual customer or you are yourself a bank, right? Of course, the difference will start to emerge when the data size is different. Okay, this is where mostly fintech get confused, because imagine you give me a data for a town called Bangalore, all the citizens residing there and how they buy or sell something. For that, I have to make a different software.
Okay.
Right, because there could be a high amount of bias, there are high amount of subjectiveness, because the population is smaller. Whereas if you give me data for entire India, my fintech will work much better, because automatically it will be free from various bias. And this is where the tools will have significantly different results, and hence I have to make the tweaking. Otherwise, if it is a simple plain vanilla transaction between two entities, it is anyway robust. I will use the same check and control. Of course, the checks and control for $10 versus $10 million, it will be different. So those who are developers, and that's where the project managers like us comes in picture. We have to apply due diligence and the process checks and controls based on what would be the risk. So we have to be very risk aware, and accordingly we have to do the programming.
Okay, so I just wanted to know that only. The risk factor is the main, thing for selecting any of the, fintech thing.
Right.
Thank you.
And there we will continue to add benefit as the chartered accountants.
Yeah.
Okay, Nidhish, I have received one question in chat. So, post-COVID, do you think the rate of rate of adopting the fintech or AI has accelerated? I mean, if this would not have happened, we would have still continued and the pace would have been slow.
Indeed, answer is a big bold yes, because COVID has breached the barriers. The demographic or the physical geographical barriers have reduced. People are more relying on software computers. You remember, most of you can relate to this situation, that someone who wanted to work from home earlier, and they will face a lot of compliance and legal questions, whether you can work at home, no one will look at your data, etc. Those mental and psychological barriers has gone. Similarly, many psychological barriers have disappeared. People are embracing software, internet tools more openly, and that means more and more devices are being added to internet, which is called IoT, Internet of Things. That also means that exponentially in the future, we'll see more faster rise in fintech, because people are more prone to online transactions, working online, learning online, everything. So let's take an example. Right now, some 32 billion devices are connected to each other on internet. And by 2030, we expect 52 billion devices to be connected. So without COVID, it could have been slower, but COVID has definitely made it much faster, and people are more open to online transactions.
Right, absolutely. I think not as professionals, but every common man today, I think they have gone digital. COVID has forced everyone to go digital in all
fact, live example, Krutika, sorry to interrupt, live example, today we are also on internet using and having this webinar. Instead, we were meeting previously personally. But I think it's a real boon for us sometimes,
No, technology is definitely, it's a boon. We should know how to use it,
correct.
And how to add value.
Add values, correct. That's so important.
Right. Yeah, I think more questions for participants.
Yeah, Nidhish, I have one more question now. Technology is going to kill a lot of jobs, and it will also going to kill corruption. That is what I believe.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Right. Corruption will be tremendously reduced by technology, with use of technology. And in every walk of life, I have seen so many people recording the videos and giving to the senior officials, and actions are taken. Similarly, even in the banking scenario, monetary scenario, fintech is going to reduce those corruptions and malpractices. What else we see is, in terms of the job security that you touched upon, it is definitely going to impact some people. So what I like to highlight is that number of jobs will not reduce. Yes, certain jobs will get impacted. So for example, if 1 million jobs are kind of made redundant, 1 million people are fired, there could be 2 or 3 million new jobs being created. The nature of the job will be different. New skill set will be required. Maybe some of those people who are doing the basic job, like a receptionist, admin assistant, or some basic data analyst, their job might not be needed in the future. So everyone has to move up in the ladder, and more jobs will be created there. Now I'm saying that why more jobs will be created? If 1 million is lost, why 3 million might be created? That's something that you can question as well. So the reason is, if we kind of open up more capital, if we save more capital, we create more profit, or more cash is created by banks or by the economy, that will require further investment. More flyovers will be built, more airports will be built, R&D will be a center will open. So these things will create more jobs, because of the amount of capital which will unlock will be tremendous after the use of fintech, and that will help creating more opportunities.
So what will be your advice to practicing chartered accountants? Because as in the corporates, we do have to adopt. Either you're in the job or you're fired. But
Yeah.
for a practicing chartered accountant, he cannot say, I will stop my practice, because he's got 100, 500 clients. So what
Right.
is your advice as a fintech expert, Nidhish?
Right. Okay. So here is my thought. Suppose that 10 of you are my client and I'm providing you the service. Okay. So I would say that, all right, all your tax return and all your basic inquiry about the new legislation or the filing will be free from today. Okay. Because I will develop a fintech tool which will make all your tax return and all the basic calculation free of cost. But in return, I would ask you to give me the details of your bank statement, transactions, and I'll be your wealth advisor from tomorrow. And you'll be happy to do that. Even in the wealth advisories business, I would develop various system tools in order to kind of analyze your future cash requirement and the risk appetite and where the market is going and the return, etc. I can do those things much more efficiently with the same number of staff, but I will be able to charge you higher fees that you will not be paying earlier for your bank for your tax returns. So this is where I can catch you. I can give you the free services. I can get your trust, and I can charge you higher fees, and I can also create more wealth for you. This is how the practicing chartered accountant firms can benefit from fintech. And this is one of the examples. You can think in 10 different ways.
So I think what Nidhish you are saying is practicing CAs will have to become more creative and diversify the portfolio.
Yeah, and automate your business as well. Whatever we were doing so far with help of people and manually, we need to automate all these things and more aggressively ask client how we can help you in wealth creation by using their data and automating our technology.
Correct.
Because the risk is, if we don't do, practicing chartered accountants don't do, then the big multinational investment banks, they are developing such tools and they will offer the same service to even retail clients.
Right. Okay, I think we have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Vandana, are you reading it out?
Just a second, huh? In a scale of 1 to 10, where do you want to keep technology with respect to security of the data?
The technology enhances the security of the data. So I would keep it at 8. Why I'm not giving 9 and 10? Because there are still always a smarter brain out there, which can always find out the ways to hack it. But technology definitely enhances the security of data. So I would give it 8.
Okay.
Especially if you use blockchain, it can go even further. Blockchain is still far from being used in most of the businesses.
Right. Okay. Participants, more questions for Nidhish?
Sushmita, I hope your query is answered, Sushmita.
Yeah.
Hello.
Huh, Sushmita?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask him if you want to put, if you are asking that we can put it at 8, why should we put this another 2 of our clients' data in secured field?
Okay, so that is a relative scale. So if I would say that currently in the existing world, our client data is at a 5-6 scale. And when we go into fintech, it will be on 8 scale. 9 and 10 is kind of those disclaimer world where we say that, okay, there's always a possibility that the data can be at risk.
So Nidhish, I can just add to that. Like it's like, earlier we used to do physical banking, but now most of us have embraced net banking and everything, right? So, there can be always fear of, something going wrong or some failure, but that doesn't stop us from using net banking. It's the same thing. Currently, whatever we are doing, it's at much more larger risk compared to what when we embrace the technology. But as Nidhish alluded to, there can be some lapse here and there, but largely it will not, because that's how it works, right? I mean, today even the best of the systems, at times it can break or it can be hacked, but that doesn't happen 99% of the time, and we have to go with that thought process.
Absolutely. We can't rule out all the possibility. And to give you some insight on that, we always hear that there are some 13, 14 years old folks who hacked the Bank of Japan or Bank of England website, and they did a lot of transactions. And they are made, after 1 or 2 years of the jail and imprisonment, they are made the chief security officer of the same bank, because there is always possibility that someone will break into the data system and things will go haywire. It is an evil that will continue to be in our society. But with the fintech, we are just getting better into this. As I said, blockchain is completely foolproof. If even 10% of the banks implement blockchain, will be going up towards 9 and 10 level of security.
Okay,
Right.
that means according to you, fintech will be, means using of fintech will be on a better side than any other.
Right. Traditional method.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Welcome. And one last thing that I would like to add before we leave the room, Google about quantum computing as well. This is something is still not heard in most of the businesses and online nowadays. But quantum computing, many countries and companies are investing heavily, though it is not in the media as frequently. But that will make the computing at least 1,000 times faster. That means even fintech and AI will be much stronger and smarter monster in future. So the discussion on fintech cannot be complete without mention of the quantum computing. Yeah, it is very kind of short span of time that we can't discuss quantum today, but it is something that you can Google and try to know more. But if we get a chance again, we will discuss this in the future.
Okay. Yeah, Vandana.
Participants, I will like to add on that today we will be giving you 1 hour participation certificate also for 1 hour unstructured learning. Nidhish, you are changing the mindset. The revolution has already taken place, and you have really taken us through the technology. So I think we have Nidhish with us. So anyone into the audience, if they need any questions, and then later on also they may approach Krutika and Nidhish for any further queries. So if they have any queries, we can take on, or any 2-3 minutes Nidhish want to add on certain things, then we will go for vote of thanks, So Nidhish, you really want how message you want to give to our audience?
Yeah, so one or two last takeaway I would like to emphasize, though I have mentioned earlier, is that fintech or use of AI is not about the programmer or technologist. You can learn it, you can understand different use cases. Just Google, try to see what the big banks are doing. For example, JP Morgan, they came up with the coin system, like automated contract. So the contracts are automatically read and interpreted by the softwares, and it saves 360,000 hours every year. So these kind of use cases, American Express, many things, you can learn Google, and then you can think and think how you can use this in your practice or in your organization. Try to think where you can cut down the steps, how you can make the process more step through, right? Secondly, read the articles, use jargons and terminology relating to the fintech, and do some short-term courses. They are all freely available online on YouTube, on Coursera, edX, Udemy. They are all offering lots of very low-cost or free courses where you can learn on your own pace. All these softwares are not, most of these softwares are not licensed, where you can practice even some of the basic codings, or you can see how things work. You can download those softwares free of cost. So this is where the future is. Learning these things are not very difficult. It is just like a new tax code that you have to learn every time. This is how you can learn fintech courses and the fintech tools as well. But the benefit and the dividends are multifolds. So I would encourage you all to do that. And time to time, I create various forum and the community. One I'm running is Global Blockchain Forum. So there I try to update people and share the documents and the various information about the technology. Try to be part of such groups and forum, learn more and more, because there's no way other than adopting fintech for all of us to prosper and do better in our profession.
So what even at our institute they have floated just a day back, that there is a audit tool they are going to supply, some 4 tools they are planning that people have to enroll by 30th June to get the free software, because they are automizing, they are also helping out. Okay, we need to adapt the new technology, we have to be with time. And I think this was the as we also feel proud that SGAF and Kritika helped me to get connected with you, such a wonderful person who has enlightened us with the upcoming fintech. So you have to update yourself, be with time, otherwise you will be redundant. And Bharat Desai is see, if you see his maybe age, so I shouldn't say, but he's so much into technology. I have to learn a lot from him. And to give you word of thanks, none other than I can request CA Bharat Desai. He is an ex-PwC and so many corporates. And one day when I take him as my the person to speaker, we will introduce him formally. But today I give him a pleasant task of giving word of thanks for sparing your valuable time and also the knowledge addition. Over to you, Bharat bhai.
We are together. She's already done vote of thanks.
No, Ajju, तुम्हारी बात से ना fintech के बारे में कुछ बोलने वाले थे, उन्होंने मुझे बोला.
Yeah, we're happy to hear, and yeah, everyone will benefit. Please.
No. Today it is your day, and yes, you are the star speaker. So, on behalf of this group, which is there, elite group, which is there, all fellow chartered accountants and my colleagues, I would like to thank you for giving us insight into the future. And we are into the future, actually. We are already in the future.
21st century.
So yes, my advice, which you said, I asked you, is to adapt, and change or perish. That is what my simple advice is to the fellow chartered accountants, and I've been doing that religiously since I understood the value of technology, how it is going to impact me and my work. And that is why I have challenged my kids also, that I'll be 10 years ahead of you. The day you start teaching me that, Dad, this is how you use your remote control, or you use a laptop or a Surface laptop, or whatever, surfing or whatever. The day you start teaching me, I will retire. And that challenge is still on. I'm still 10 years ahead of them. Right. And I love this fintech, and this is what the future is. And I would advise every chartered accountant. We will have one more program also, in detail, where this is being explained to a lot of other classes also. It's just today we are professional chartered accountants today, but yes, this is required for all of us. So I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would like to also thank today's 2 coordinators, Hiral Mehta, chartered accountant, and Kritika Shah, chartered accountant. Both of them have done wonderful. And of course, Vandana, who is my friend, colleague. That's why we are sitting here at my place itself and trying to arrange and share our knowledge. So thank you so much.
And for the participant present today, the next Sunday we have Sangeeta Gandhi. She's a chartered accountant from Gandhi Valley, and she's going to take the topic on values and ethics in our CA profession as well as our day-to-day life. So, and it will be chai pe charcha, so it will be interesting. So NIDHISH, you are also invited. See, it is open for everyone. Ultimately, whatever we do in any given point of time, can it additional value to our life? Are we prospering in learning, or ultimately whatever you learn will fetch you earning in the future? That's what ultimate aim is. That maybe by getting good friends around, that itself is also earning. So fellowship The name itself suggests fellowship and acquaintances. So thank you, friends, all sparing your valuable time with us on Chai Pe Charcha.
Especially on a Sunday.
Especially
Yeah,
on a
especially
Sunday,
on
it's
a
the family
Sunday.
time. Yeah, yeah.
Especially on.
Yeah.
I tend to sleep, so I will.
उनको नहीं सोने देना था इसलिए मैं उनके घर पे आ गई. So anyone want to just cheer up, can share, and otherwise we will end by 6. We are on.
I will.
We have 2 minutes more for
I
the
would like
participants.
to end by saying that fintech is not an enabler, but it is a driving engine. So we
Correct.
will have to, now the next session will be also a driving force, something like that way. So we will have to, go and on and on and on.
In the third session, we have already lined up for the participants. Cooperating housing societies in thing. So what are the do's and don'ts? So that is also question answer we have framed. So that they are going to. After that corporate audit, we are planning that what care they should take while doing the audit. So this is how lined up. So all participants welcome, and we were live on Facebook. So later on also we can watch the recorded video of our NIDHISH today. Star speaker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nidhish. And
Thank you.
Everyone. Thanks, Bharat, Hiral.
Thank you, sir. Nice.
bye for now. See you next week. Same time, 5 o'clock. Chai Pe Charcha with SGF.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rutika. Thanks, Hiral.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks once again, Nishit.
Nidhish.
Thank
Nidhish.
you.
Thanks, Vandana.
And our participant too. उनके बिना तो अपनी मीटिंग ही नहीं हो पाएगी ना. They are welcome always.
Thank you all participants. Thank you all participants.